All right, let's jump right in. We're going to break down one of the most revolutionary movements in art history, French Impressionism. So let's just dive right in with this question. How did one blurry painting start a revolution? Because this isn't just a story about pretty landscapes, It's about a group of total rebels who completely turned the art world on its head.
You see, our story kicks off not with a round of applause, but with an insult. Back in 1874, a bunch of artists got rejected by the official Paris Salon, which was the place to be, the absolute gatekeeper of good taste. The Salon wanted perfect, polished, historical paintings, and these rebels, well, their messy brushstrokes were basically an attack on that entire tradition. So they decided to put on their own show.
So here it is. This is Claude Monet's Impression Sunrise. When it first went on display, one critic took a look at its hazy, kind of unfinished vibe and mockingly called Monet and his friends Impressionists. It was totally meant to be a putdown, right? But the artists, they loved it, they embraced it, and the name just stuck. And what's so wild is that the critic, in his attempt to mock them, actually nailed their entire philosophy. They weren't trying to paint a perfect photographic copy of a place. No, they were trying to capture a feeling, the sensation, that fleeting moment of light and atmosphere. Okay, so what exactly were these artists fighting against, right? What made their whole approach so radically different? Well, it all came down to a completely new way of seeing color and light. You gotta understand, for centuries, painters were taught this one rule: local color. It's simple. A lemon is yellow, grass is green, the sky is blue. Period. But the Impressionists just threw that rule book out the window. They went outside and actually looked, and they noticed, hey, that lemon has flecks of blue reflecting off the sky, or that grass looks almost golden in the evening sun. They painted what they saw, not what they were told things were supposed to look like.
And wow, you can really see the difference right here. On the left, that's the old way. The colors are flat, they stay in their lanes. But then, look at the detail from Monet's painting on the right. Those oranges aren't just orange. They are literally shimmering with whites, yellows, even little bits of blue from the light in the room. It's the perfect way to see that shift from painting an idea to painting a real experience. So, to actually capture this new reality, this apparent color, they had to invent a whole new toolkit. They started painting outdoors, en plein air, as the French say, to see the light firsthand. They used these short, thick brush strokes to grab a moment before it was gone, and they put pure, unmixed colors right next to each other on the canvas, letting your eye do the work of blending them together. And I love this painting because it just perfectly illustrates that commitment. That's the master himself, Claude Monet, out in the elements, captured by another artist while he's working. They left the stuffy dark studios and dragged their easels right out into nature, right onto the busy city streets.
All right, so let's meet some of the revolutionaries themselves. Because this wasn't just one person's idea, it was a whole crew of innovators, a vibrant community, all pushing each other forward. And of course, we've got to start with the man himself, Claude Monet. This guy was absolutely obsessed with light. I mean, so obsessed that he would paint the exact same thing over and over and over again at different times of day just to see how the changing light completely transformed it. His most famous experiments were with haystacks and the ruined cathedral, where he made dozens of canvases of the exact same view. And in doing that, he proved that the real subject wasn't a haystack or the building, it was the light itself.
Okay, this is such a cool example of what we're talking about. You've got two different artists, Monet and Renoir, who literally set up their easels side by side to paint the exact same scene at the exact same time. But look, each painting captures a totally unique impression. Monet's is all about the shimmering, abstract water, while Renoir is focused on the lively people enjoying their day. Then you have someone like Edgar Degas. He took these impressionist ideas and applied them to the hustle and bustle of modern city life. He wasn't really a landscape guy. He gave us these incredible, almost candid snapshots of ballet dancers, musicians, and everyday people, just capturing all their movement and energy. And listen, this is so important to remember. This was not just a boys' club. There were incredibly talented women who were absolutely central to the movement. They exhibited their work right alongside the men, and they were pushing the boundaries of art just as hard, if not harder. Take Bertha Morisot. She was a founding member, and critics at the time praised her unique, delicate style. So on the left, you see her as a subject painted by Monet. But on the right, that's her own work, her own incredible vision, these vibrant, light-filled scenes that were all her own. She was a master. And then there's Mary Cassatt, an American who came to Paris and just brought this entirely fresh perspective. She was really good friends with Degas, and she turned her focus to the private domestic world of women and children. It was a subject that was often overlooked by the male artists, and she captured it with just incredible sensitivity and skill.
But this whole spirit of experimentation, it wasn't just about painting on a canvas. It started to spill over into other things, and this focus on sensation and atmosphere. It even started to influence music and literature at the time.
I mean, look at what Degas did. He took this impressionist realism and brought it into sculpture. And his Little Dancer, oh man, it was a total scandal. He didn't make her look like some perfect, ideal ballerina. He showed a real, maybe kind of tired young student, and then he dressed the wax sculpture in a real fabric tutu and a real bodice. He just completely blew up the line between art and reality.
So, okay, what's the big takeaway here? Why does all of this matter? Well, it matters because by breaking all the rules of what a painting should be, the Impressionists basically kicked open the door for every single modern art movement that came after them.
You can literally trace the path right here. Impressionism was that first spark. Then the post-Impressionists, guys like Van Gogh, they took those ideas about color and pushed them even further, using it to express pure emotion. And that path eventually leads you to artists like Kandinsky, who just abandoned painting recognizable things altogether and went for pure abstract art.
I mean, their influence was so huge that artists decades later, almost a century later, were still talking to them through their work. Here you have the surrealist René Magritte taking a famous painting by Monet and completely reinterpreting it in his own weird, unsettling style. That's a real testament to how long their ideas lasted.
And that really brings us to the final, big idea, doesn't it? The Impressionists didn't just change art, they really changed how we see the world. They taught us to look a little closer, to notice that reality isn't static. It's this constant, beautiful, shimmering dance of light and color.
And just as a final kind of quirky little testament to how famous they became, yep, in 1959 they actually named a scooter after Monet. I mean, to go from an insult shouted by a critic to an icon on two wheels, that's quite a journey.